Specialist in the Center for Excellence in Learning and Teaching, or CELT, as we like to call ourselves at Stony Brook University. So, we're the teaching center that's responsible for all of the faculty development on campus. I'm sure you're familiar with those from your campuses, or maybe you are part of them. I'm also the current chair of the Education Committee. So if you are interested in serving more in BIioTAP, we have 2 positions open on that committee, and the nomination form was just shared. So thanks again for being here. I also have 2 collaborators in the audience, Yiran and Young. So thanks to you both for being here as well. And I'm going to be talking about this program that I created at Stony Brook for TA training, impacts of a large enrollment online TA training college teaching course. I'll explain what that means on teaching confidence. And as I was saying initially, I'm really excited to be able to share this with the BioTAP community because I was in BioTAP cohort 3 back in the summer of 2019. I can't believe that was 5 years ago. But this is really where the research portion of this idea started. It came right along with building the program initially. And so just a little bit of history. I'm going to go through what the program components are and then some of the data we've really just started analyzing from fall 2023 is when we got like our first really good survey responses throughout this whole process as the program's been changing. And I'll talk a little bit about that data and also this fall later on. So I'm not going to read through this entire timeline, but I'm biased, of course, but developing a large program like this at an R1 institution comes with a lot of challenges, but I feel like I've been pretty lucky. So I wanted to share the story of how this came to be. It did start off, I was a postdoc in CELT back starting in 2017. And this was, my main interest was developing better TA training for our biology instructors. I was in the genetics program at Stony Brook, so had firsthand experience being a TA in that program. And even though there was a lot of support in the particular course I taught, it still wasn't quite a basic introduction to pedagogy that we might have needed, or, some different perspectives from, different general topics. And of course, across the university, many of our STEM programs don't really provide much in the way of teaching support for the TAs there, as I'm sure is, fairly common, unfortunately, still. So again, this did start we have 6 programs that make up the undergraduate biology. It's not really a department, but it's the administrative body for our biology courses at Stony Brook. So since I had come out of one of those programs, that's sort of where I started. However, at the same time, I was interested in bringing this to, more broadly to our campus. So I had started with a survey of graduate students and graduate program directors to see what they might be interested in as far as TA training, proposed the in-person program idea I had and started to drum up interest that way. So that's how the biology programs became interested in the first place. And again, it was a, half-day in-person program. There was a 3-hour interactive general session, which was a, very, general overview of various topics in college teaching. And then there were breakout sessions, depending on if TAs were going to be teaching lab courses or lecture courses. And those were led by faculty that teach the course. So at the same time, the biomedical engineering program became interested in this, which got the rest of the College of Engineering and Applied Sciences interested in this. And at the same time, I was talking with the assistant dean of the graduate school, because the graduate school as a whole had also been interested in broadening teaching support throughout the campus. So at that time, I was also in BioTAP cohort 3, and started to get this idea to compare the in-person version to an online version of the program, right? To try to make it a little more flexible in format and, not having to require 6 hours at a clip of time to participate. So the graduate school was interested in piloting that version, and the College of Engineering was interested in the in-person. So I was, heading off with the research question I developed from BioTAP, ready to do this large scale comparison, and COVID happened. So that went out the window, and the whole program wound up going online in the fall of 2020. Since then, it's gone through several iterations, and I'll tell you a little bit more about the specifics of the course now. So again, like I said, we've done program assessment on this throughout and have listened to feedback from the TAs, so have made, sort of changes to the components along the way. Beth, I just saw your comment, stupid COVID. Yes, I agree. However, we're moving forward, right, as we do. So the current course structure is, and this is just a snapshot from the Brightspace course, that's our LMS at Stony Brook. There's 4 asynchronous modules that the TAs complete. There's just a quick knowledge check quiz at the end of the module, and they do 2 to 3 really short, like 1 to 2 sentence written reflections throughout. There's a total of 9 modules currently, so they are required to do numbers 1 and 2. And then they pick 2 more from the rest of the topics, which I'll pop up in a moment. And then there's 1 discussion, which is based on classroom scenarios that TAs can choose to participate either synchronously on Zoom or asynchronously with a tool called VoiceThread, which is a discussion tool if you're not familiar. It's really nice for having folks feel like they're talking to each other, but they're not. A little more dynamic than a regular discussion board. So, and there's several scenarios, and we also discuss any challenges that the TAs anticipate, and share advice among small groups. So TAs really get a chance to talk to each other from different programs and puzzle through these scenarios that they might encounter. Things like office hours, academic dishonesty, engagement, students of concern, things like that. Clicking and it's not going. Okay, so the module topics are, the 2 required ones are building a welcoming learning environment. So that's things like classroom management, an introduction to the ideas of implicit bias, stereotype threat, and a brief overview or introduction to inclusive teaching. And then there's, the obligate procedures, policies, and resources type module. And individual departments, of course, go over policies and procedures as well. But again, this is meant to provide a general baseline for the many folks that don't get more detailed information on this. And then the rest of the modules are as follows: successful office hours, grading, assessment, and feedback, facilitating group work and discussion, promoting student engagement, teaching online, AI in the classroom, and neuro-inclusive teaching. Those last 2 were just added this semester. So one of the semesters I'll show you the data analysis for, or the results for, those were not part of the course at that time. But this is a good mix of different levels. Some programs want their TAs to take this even though they're not TAing for the first time, or graduate students find out about this new option we have, which I'll discuss in a minute, for a 0 credit course. And so they're interested in taking it even though they've been a TA before, so they can choose things, like maybe the student engagement or teaching online, things that are a little bit off just, the fundamental basics. And then last semester, we started offering the 0 credit course option, Fundamentals of College Teaching, where it's an opt-in. So the TAs indicate right at the start of the course when they go in Brightspace whether they want to choose this. They'll register with the university's system. And along with their choice modules, in each one of those, they complete 1 short assignment. So it's something like, write an announcement encouraging students to come to your office hours and explaining the purpose of them, something they can use when they become a TA. And then, of course, since it's a 0 credit course, the work for the TA training is documented on their transcript. And the in-person course was about 6 hours, so that was my target for the online. And over, semesters and semesters of data, the typical time spent on this is about 3 to 5 hours, though some do less and some do more. I'll talk a little bit more about that details of the course coming back, but so it's taken a while to get the survey responses in a good spot. And we just started doing this data analysis really like a couple of months ago, and then it sort of went to the wayside again. So thank you again to Young for the help with this. But the way I was assessing this is with a pre and post survey taken from this Connolly study cited on the bottom. So there's 6 dimensions or domains of teaching that are asked, and there's like about 6 or 7 questions within each of these: classroom teaching, diversity and learning, teacher-student relationships, assessment, teaching in general, and course design. And we had 186 surveys that we could pair up the pre and the post survey, and just did paired t-tests. And you can see from the graph, for each domain, the starting gains in confidence. So these are just questions about the TA's perception of their confidence. That was what I was interested in looking at. The survey also asked about how much did you learn about the topic before and after, and then how much have you done whatever the item is before and after. So I'm only showing the confidence scores here. But across each dimension, there was a significant increase in confidence from the pre to the post survey. So they had to do the pre-survey in order to open the course. I mean, in general, the survey was voluntary. They didn't have to do it at all. They choose whether or not they consent to take the survey. And then after they complete the course, the survey link is open for them. So it was really nice to get, almost, nearly 200 paired responses there. We also looked at if there was a difference in STEM versus humanities programs or gender. Humanities tend to be different types of courses than STEM with more interaction in general. So I was just interested to see if there was any difference here. And there was not any difference in the confidence gain scores across all of the domains for either program difference or gender. And this was 129 participants from 27 STEM programs and 57 participants from 13 humanities programs. And then gender, again, voluntary answer, 102 male, 78 female, and other, which encompassed prefer not to answer, and gender nonconforming or variant was 6. So that was not included in the analysis. But again, no difference in either of those. So this current semester was the highest enrollment, highest completion rate. The first time we rolled out this GRD 697 course option, 292 TAs wound up opting for that, which was really surprising to me. I didn't think the number was going to be that high. And 290 have completed, and I'm going to chase after those last two to finish. And that was out of 515 total enrolled. The overall completion rate was 86%. Usually we see about 80%, which is still encouraging in my opinion. And so this semester was really nice to see that. And I just did this really preliminary analysis of this a few days ago. I'm not using that other survey anymore. I was interested more in seeing what, the confidence was directly related to the module titles, not the items that were in that other survey, because some of them didn't really align 100% with the content of the course. Some did. But so this survey, I asked the same type of things, what, the perception of learning before and after, how much have you done this before and during and after the course, and then the perceived confidence. And again, it was just for module 1, what did you think your confidence increased in the topic of, building a welcoming classroom environment. And this was a retrospective post survey. So they got asked what their perceptions were at the start of the course and the end of the course at the same time. So there were 163 answers for this survey. And again, the gains in each learning, experience, and confidence were significant for each of those 3 measures. So we have a lot more data analysis to do. I have other information that we could, coordinate with different contributing factors. We're thinking about doing a longitudinal survey, maybe finding a shorter instrument for teaching confidence, because all of those dimensions and 3 different questions for each thing, it takes quite a while to fill out, and I'd like the assessment to be less of a burden on the TAs. And then just from a program perspective, thinking about how to incorporate maybe some peer-led components, maybe specialized in-person sessions. A lot of TAs, particularly international TAs, say they would like to see more in-person, which would be impossible at the scale, but perhaps some smaller sessions. And then, as I was just alluding to, more international TA support. And thank you for listening. I'll take questions if you have them.
Hey, Kimberly, it's Beth Schusler.
Hey,
This is
Beth.
so fascinating and such a great, I mean, what a heavy lift and congratulations. It's so
Thank
amazing.
you.
I wish we had that here. Um, so my question, it was just kind of brought up with your mention of international students is have you thought about doing a module on specifically for international students and helping them to understand the culture of teaching, here? I don't even know what it would be on, but just have you thought about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and there is like a page of that in the first module that if you're an international TA, these resources are here for you. Um, but honestly, like I've had trouble finding external resources for this, and the Stony Brook internal resources are not the best. The main thing that we have available is, English courses for folks that don't do well in their TOEFL, and they're limited because it's like one person that runs those courses. So they're capped at like 12 people per course, and there's like 2 or 3 sections offered each semester. So I'm looking for other campus offices to maybe partner with this on this effort. And Vanderbilt has a nice guide for their international instructors, but it's not right. It's not like TA focused.
Mm.
But thinking of maybe adapting that a little bit to have something.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
was thinking when you mentioned like the English, like, there's got to be so much deficit framing with these types of supports for international students. And wouldn't it be
yeah,
cool to create something that was more like a cultural capital kind of focused, development
yeah.
of their abilities, what they're bringing to the classroom that's so unique and different. But yeah,
Absolutely.
thanks for
Yeah.
making me think about that.
Yeah. I mean, because what you just said, the deficit based, right? That the neuro-inclusive teaching model is all about moving away from that deficit base. So yeah, modeling something like that for the international TAs would be great. Yeah.
That'd be really probably unique, I bet.
Thanks. Yeah.
That's a great talk, Kimberly. And again, if people have questions, you can put them in the chat or go ahead and unmute and ask too. But I had a quick question. The modules you said you've got 2 that are required, and then they get to pick 2 of the others. What
Yeah.
what are the most what are the most commonly picked, or what does it seem like the grad students are most interested in, or is it just spread out?
Yeah, so definitely most folks pick office hours and grading. Those are the, really typical TA tasks that most first-time TAs will be doing. And that's the majority of the folks that are in the course. They're first-year PhD students or master students that just got TA lines. Yeah, so by far those 2. And then a lot of, not as many. So I would say like maybe like I actually had numbers on that, but I forgot what it was. Maybe like 80 people max would choose like student engagement, teaching online, things like that. But the AI and the neuro inclusive modules were also they fell in between, right? So the office hours and grading were definitely the most popular. Then like there's I can't do even really easy math adding in my head like this. But then like 4 of them are lower, and then the neuro inclusive and the AI would be in the middle of that. Yeah.
And I'm sorry if I missed this, but is it all built in like the university's LMS?
Yep. Yep. It's in Brightspace. So, we work with the graduate school to get the information on who's got TA lines and enroll them in the course. And then I communicate with them. I try to interact with the course as much as possible. And we do get some pretty good attendance at those Zoom sessions too, which does always surprise me. A lot of TAs really want to connect with other TAs right at the start. So
So related question, how many Zoom sessions do you run and how do you organize that?
yeah, so I offered 6 different ones this semester. So like we enroll them in the course and they can start super early. So this fall version they can access it in mid-July. Um, and then the due date isn't until the middle of September. So they have a whole while to take their time and do this. Some students don't get their TA assignments until classes already start, so there has to be kind of a range. But yeah, for the Zoom sessions, I did 6. I tried to do one. I do them like in the evening, so like 5 o'clock Eastern time. Um, And then yeah, they're like an hour and it's an hour and a half long, and I sometimes have a host, I sometimes don't, depending on who else in my office is available, like a co-host. So it's just I present the scenarios and then put the students in breakout rooms, and they chat with each other and collect their information in the Zoom whiteboard. They'll post their ideas for the scenarios there, and then we talk about them afterwards, and students give each other feedback in the full group. So I think about like 30 to 35 people attended each of the 6 Zoom sessions.
Thanks.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Kimberly. We've got about 4 minutes until our next talk, so I'm going to put up the schedule, but feel free if people want to converse, or if you want to throw some things in the chat, you are welcome to do so. But we're going to make sure that we stick to the schedule for those that are popping in for specific talks. So we'll see you back here in about 3.5 minutes.